Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about this evening. I was just published in the Federalist. So before we get to some really interesting articles in the Washington Post that link directly to the Durham probe indictments, and the Durham probe special counsel, I was actually just published, so Eric and Luke, thank you so very much. By the way, Eric, the moderator here, Eric H526, has a fantastic Odyssey channel and YouTube channel. Subscribe to both of his channels. Luke St. Martin, thank you. To my super chat, by the way, I cannot do this without you. If you want to talk about my Federalist article, the Durham probe, stock market crash, that it will happen within, I would say, 6-7 months. But I would say we're going to face a devastating financial crisis from the stock market crash, and I explain in the Federalist. So if you want to talk about any major topic via Super Chat, your support is greatly appreciated. I don't have $20 million in venture capital funding like some people, some wonderful socialists out there. So really quickly, here's the article in the Federalist. It is titled, "Why Are Democrats Hurtling the United States Towards a Stock Market Crash?" I love the Federalist. It's a fantastic publication, and I'm very honored to be published once again in the Federalist. So the article's right here. I will put it within the pinned comment and also within the description. Let me go ahead and put that article within the description. But I explain in the Federalist article that we are also facing a derivatives nightmare. We're facing a derivatives nightmare. The total market in the world for these derivatives contracts, by the way, that are generally private contracts, is $1 quadrillion. You remember when Democrats said they want to mint $1 trillion coin? Well, multiply that $1 trillion coin by 1,000. That's 1 quadrillion. Okay? Multiply $1 trillion by 1,000. You get 1 quadrillion. The derivatives market in the world, the same derivatives that caused the 2008 financial collapse that tanked the global economy, have grown exponentially into $1 quadrillion in terms of a global market, okay? And it's like something like around 300 to 500 trillion in the United States of America alone. About 300 trillion or so market in the United States alone. But this is going to be a huge issue because you already had a hedge fund go under. And I talk about that, the Archegos hedge fund, I talk about that in the stock market, the article in the Federalist. So let me just read you this. Why are Democrats hurtling the United States towards a stock market crash? This was published several days ago. I just found out today from one of my viewers in the comments section. And again, I'm like really, this is the second time this year, in the past couple of months. A couple months ago, it was published in the Jerusalem Post op-ed, and now in the Federalist. Very, very happy. And despite recent hedge fund disasters and almost every economic indicator pointing to a potential stock crash, Biden's administration has completely ignored a potential equities bubble. So I talk about that. I talk about the $5.9 trillion in fiscal stimulus, the $3.3 trillion in quantitative easing, the 22 million jobs lost, the fact we have 10 million fewer jobs now. I talk about the fact that in January of 2020, ladies and gentlemen, we had 3.6% unemployment nationally. We had stronger than expected job and wage growth in January of 2020. We went from that to 22 million jobs lost in the matter of months with toilet paper shortages. I talk about the $822 billion in margin debt, the all-time high in margin debt. Margin debt as a percentage of gross domestic product that surpassed 2000 and 2008. By the way, subscribe to my stock market crash channel. That link will be in the pinned comment as well. Just click stock market crash channel, write it in YouTube. You will get my other channel, which is the stock market crash channel. I talk about that today. And I talk about also the fact that the price to earnings ratio of the S&P 500 is at around 37. And the historic PE ratio of the S&P 500 is close to 20, 19.6 or so. I just read the article. You will love it. I'm very excited about it because I believe that this will be one of the few articles written that will warn people about the impending disaster we face in the world and as a country. So go ahead, share that segment everywhere. I mean, share this article everywhere. The link is below right here, and I'll get to it later tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, Sarah, thank you so very much. Everybody here, let's start with a really interesting article. I just want to read you this in light of the indictments that we read from Sussmann and Kleinsmith. Now, this article was written in January of 2020, okay, before the Durham probe became a special counsel. And, or I believe it might have already been a special counsel. So, but this is a very interesting article. And it talks about how the Steele dossier was publicized and disseminated within the FBI and other intel agencies. It's a Washington Post article that focuses on one journalist in particular. I am not accusing or alleging or insinuating that this journalist, David Corn, has done anything criminal. So that's number one. Number two, I find it very interesting, though, that it's an opinion in the Washington Post that the opinion title is just the facts. Okay, let's look at the facts. And let's look at the facts as they were in 2020 and revelations we've discovered from the indictments in the Durham probe. So David Corn and the Steele dossier, just checking the facts. This is an opinion piece by Eric Wemple, media critic, January 10th, 2020. This is a very interesting article, ladies and gentlemen, and it tells you pretty much what you need to know about how times have changed. So here, I want to read you this. David Corn, the Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones, was reporting on the Steele dossier before it was known as the Dossier. This is interesting, too, because you have Mother Jones, a liberal publication that despises Trump, reporting on a dossier that was purchased by Clinton and the DNC. Do you think maybe there's a conflict of interest there in terms of reporting on the truth? Do you think maybe the bias they had against Republicans in general, but also against Trump, played a factor in publicizing or possibly helping disseminate a compilation of gossip and nonsense that was never used to indict anybody, that was discredited by the Mueller probe? You think maybe there's a little bit of bias there? But let's continue. A veteran spy has given the FBI information alleging a Russian operation to cultivate Donald Trump. Now, when that article was written, nobody in the country knew that the DNC, or very few people knew. It wasn't publicized that the DNC and the Mark P. Mark, thank you so very much. Mark, thank you. Greatly, greatly appreciated, Mark. Thank you. To my super chat, thank you. I cannot do this without you, Mark. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. Thank you, Mark. It wasn't publicized yet that the dossier was purchased by Trump's direct political rivals. This is a story that was perpetuated by media and Trump's direct political rivals that nobody, like, when they were promulgating this story and publicizing this story, the notion was that, well, truth, they were just trying to find out if Trump had ties to Russia. Well, the National Security Agency, the Central Intelligence Agency, the Federal Bureau of Investigation never had any direct evidence. They relied on a dossier and a high to moderate confidence assessment. They never had any direct evidence. The notion that a liberal publication or liberal journalists could help publicize or start a Red Scare is absurd. The whole thing is absurd. That's what the Durham probe is about. Media and the United States government descending upon and targeting an incoming candidate only because of political animus, partisanship, and bias. This is not rocket science. You would have to be a complete and utter imbecile to believe that tens of billions of dollars in intelligence funding couldn't come up with a shred of any evidence that Trump worked with Russia, couldn't indict anyone for conspiring to work with Russian operatives, but you had 4 to 5 years of an obsession perpetuated by liberal publications first. And the Washington Post is a liberal publication also. That said that we had the goods, that people had the goods on Trump working with Russia. Why? Because eventually we found out that the DNC and the Clinton campaign funded a dossier. So, and then Sussmann, when he was indicted, did not tell the FBI that he was working for the Clinton campaign. Padre speaks, thank you. China staring down the barrel of a negative equity crisis. Yes, government trying to put price controls in place to keep prices high, but sellers are looking to recoup losses. Check out China Observer and adios, Gruden. Ay. I'll leave that alone. I'm gonna leave that alone. But yeah, Padre speaks. Thank you so very much. That hurt. That hurt a lot. I think that is really quickly. I think that's an issue between the team and the head coach and nobody else. And if the team forgave him, that's the main thing. Because from what I've read, the team forgave him. I think that is so horrible. Padre speaks, and I don't know how, and I don't know why, but here you have a Super Bowl winning coach. Wrote comments a decade ago or like in an email, and it's a matter of the team forgiving the coach. And if the team forgave the coach, I don't know why he was forced to resign, because I'm sure he was forced to resign. I think this is just a horrible, horrible thing. I don't think there's anyone on the planet that thinks he's a bad person. I don't think there's anybody on the planet that thinks I think that everyone who knows John Gruden knows he's a good human being. I think that this type of culture we have, this distorted, twisted, warped type of retribution we have as a culture, where nobody is forgiveness is a dirty word in this country. Forgiveness is a dirty word in this country. It's a profane word. It's basically profanity. The word forgiveness is a word that the high priests of morality in our country only demand for themselves when they get caught. I don't want to get into it, but like you can look at politicians, Justin Trudeau, you can look at Jimmy Kimmel. None of these people resigned. You can look at the Democratic governor of Virginia. None of these people resigned. So I don't understand why John Gruden resigned. If he offended anybody, he has to first apologize to his team. He did, and I just don't. I can't. I don't want to get it too far into it. But Padre Speaks. Thank you, and I agree with you. I'm going to check that out as well. I'm going to check that out as well. I agree with you. What's happening now in China is a precursor to what takes place here, especially with Evergrande, Cynic Holdings, Fantasia. So, yeah, I mean, Padre Speaks. Thank you so very, very much. Exactly. I just think that when you go ahead, when you are not, when people are, because Joe Biden has stated things that are unforgivable in this day and age, but he's not resigning. Okay, he even made insulting comments during the campaign, more insulting than anything Trump said. When we have a double standard. If you are of a certain political viewpoint, you can get away and say anything. You can do the most despicable things and never resign. I think Gruden should never have been forced to resign. I think it was the worst. I don't know. I don't know the whole story, as I just, found out a couple of hours ago. But, and that's not exactly like, I'm wearing this because it's cold and I want to keep warm, and I'm a Raider fan. And I love the Raiders. Not as any kind of message or anything like that pertaining to what happened. But, I don't know. I think that there's never been an issue with John Gruden. He's known by everyone to be a good person, a good human being, and I just think that when you level consequences at people who aren't Joe Biden or Justin Trudeau or Jimmy Kimmel, and you allow them to just apologize. John Gruden apologized. Why is he forced to resign? Why is he forced to resign? I don't understand that. But anyway, Padre Speaks. Thank you so very, very much. Padre Speaks. He's a Super Bowl winning coach that has never had a problem, and his teammates love him, and his teammates of all backgrounds love him. So, is this the society we live in where Joe Biden can say the most horrible things? I mean, it's very simple. You can look at Mashed Potato Brains, our president, and see what he said over the years. Worse than anything Gruden said. Okay? You can look at what Jimmy Kimmel did in one of his segments. Worse than anything John Gruden did. Justin Trudeau, worse than anything John Gruden did. But this double standard is unbelievable. The thing is, it's like you're not moral if you hand out consequences only to people who aren't aligned with your political side. You're immoral. You're a hypocrite. These people are hypocrites. The high priests of morality in our country are the biggest hypocrites on the planet. They are never held accountable for any joke or comment that they make or offensive thing they've made, the statement they've made 10, 20 years ago. They're never held accountable. I mean, Bette Midler said something absurd on Twitter, and she was forgiven. Of course, it was, within the context of trying to preach and pontificate. But she was forgiven, and that's worse than what Gruden said. So, I don't know. I can go on forever, I guess. Rachel! Mad Cow, thank you! I love your work, Goodman. Check me out. The telly sometimes is disgusting. Mad Cow, thank you so very, very much. Thank you so much. I hope all is well. Padre Speaks, thank you. Thank you again. Mark P, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. But let's continue. Mad Cow, thank you so very, very much as always. Greatly appreciated as always. Thank you, Mad Cow. Thank you. David Korn, the Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones, was reporting on the Steele dossier before it was known as the Dossier. Yeah, that's an issue also. That's also an issue. A veteran spy has given the FBI information alleging a Russian operation to cultivate Donald Trump. The fact that someone is giving the Bureau something at all on their direct political rival is a problem. They would never allow the reverse to take place. They would never allow the the opposite to take place. They would never allow Republicans. They would never in a million years allow Republicans to give the Bureau a dossier on Biden or Clinton or anyone else. But you better believe there's no problem with giving a dossier on Trump. It read in part, former senior intelligence officials for a Western country who specialized in Russia counterintelligence tell Mother Jones that in recent months, he provided the Bureau with memos based on his recent interaction. So that would never, the reverse, the opposite of that. The National Review giving information to the Bureau about Biden's son Hunter based on actual, like the New York Post article was actually correct. They were vindicated. And you have a situation where, could you imagine if, like, the Federalist or the National Review or, the Daily Wire gave the FBI information on Hunter Biden? They would immediately, instinctively have this visceral reaction where they oppose or condemn or try to fact check the allegations into oblivion. They would never in a million years allow. They would never in a million years, ever in a million years allow any type of allegation against a Democrat in the form of a dossier, a memo, a binder, a greeting card, note paper, a stick it, notepad, whatever. They would never allow that. And then it's the Trump nightmare looms again. They know he's running, so the Trump nightmare looms again. Oh, no. Oh, no, the liberal nightmare of Trump with record low unemployment. And the Doha Agreement, which Biden completely botched. So, the nightmare of Trump, looms again. The nightmare of Trump looms again. Oh, my God. So, they know. They know. They know that President Trump is going to run, and they know that they know that it's going to be basically yet another apoplectic, hysterical reaction from their side. Because they tried, imagine trying everything from setting up and framing him to just endless media coverage, and you still have to contend with President Trump again. Imagine how inept, and you're going to have a Trump Republican House. So they already gave everything, there's already a Durham probe now. So good luck trying to set him up and frame him. There's already a Durham probe. So you try to set him up and frame him. If you're linked to anyone who set him up and framed him in the beginning, then you're going to be investigated. So good luck. Then the article goes, The former senior intelligence officer was Christopher Steele, the author of what would become known as the Dossier, which was published by BuzzFeed in January 2017. Though Korn disclosed in his Mother Jones report that it was unclear whether the FBI had verified any of the information in the memos, he went ahead and repeated significant claims. So he repeated claims knowing that they weren't verified, which means that he was repeating baseless claims. A claim that's not verified is, according to Democrats, baseless when it's leveled against them. When a claim is leveled against Democrats, it is viewed as baseless when there's no evidence. Generally, a claim is a baseless claim when there's no evidence anyway. Generally, a claim is baseless when there's no evidence anyway. So that is accurate, but it shouldn't just be accurate for one political side. Oh, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Is there sorry for the choppy, oh, Lord. You serious? Sorry about that. Can you hear me, people? Sorry about the Richard B. Free 2012. Thank you. Richard B. Free 2012. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so much. Sorry about the OBS or the internet connection being choppy. Greatly appreciated, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you. Richard, thank you so very, very, very much. Richard B. Free, thank you. Greatly appreciated. To my super chat, thank you. I can't do it without you, ladies and gentlemen. So, the interesting thing, ladies and gentlemen, is you look and so asked about airing the sensitive yet unverified information so close to the presidential election, Korn told Eric Wemple via email, I quoted a few lines from the memos to give a sense of what had been delivered to the FBI, but I did not cite the specifics, such as the salacious allegations involving Trump and going to the restroom. As I've repeatedly said, I believe that even Trump deserved fairness. Are you kidding me? Okay, this is the epitome of the most unfair type of journalism and reporting. You're literally reporting on an unverified document given to the FBI for the purpose of targeting and undermining the Trump campaign. And you are publicizing it from a liberal publication with readers who will believe anything. So the fact that it was given to the FBI is completely and utterly meaningless. Who cares if it was given to the National Security Agency or any other? The fact that it was given or accepted by the FBI is completely, utterly irrelevant and meaningless. What happens, what Democrats do generally, or what morally superior, wonderful liberals do generally, is they say, well, Glorified G had to stop. I didn't have to, but I wanted to stop that channel just because of algorithm issues, which actually I could have continued, but I just said, you know what, I'll just go ahead and stop the channel. But it was fun while it lasted. So this journalist is saying, oh, I wanted to be fair to Trump. If you wanted to be fair to Trump, you wouldn't even report on it. Or you would report on it, but you wouldn't help publicize the notion. Like, just because you didn't specifically state that he had gone to the restroom in a Moscow hotel room, with other people there, the story you're reporting on directly leads to that absurd allegation. And then they say, well, Trump has broken norms. How many times was an incoming candidate accused of going to the restroom in a Moscow hotel room with people there? Has that ever happened before? Did that happen to President Obama or Bush? Did that happen to Joe Biden? Joe Biden's mashed potato brain's probably doing that, and nobody's in the room. But, like, how often does that happen? How often did that happen in U.S. history? So this was completely unfair. It's never happened before. It's unprecedented. And there you go. As I repeat, I believe even Trump deserved fairness. If he deserved fairness, you wouldn't have helped spread a fake news, complete hoax, and pure propaganda purchased by the Clinton and the DNC, by the Clinton campaign and the DNC, if you wanted fairness. This is hilarious. So now, and then now we have Sussmann, who was indicted specifically for lying to the FBI about his work, specifically for lying to the FBI about his work, being paid for by the Clinton campaign. So, I mean, you have the height of duplicity here. I mean, it's really the height of duplicity. You have a situation where the Washington Post is actually going to bat for Mother Jones, where the opposite would be true. If the Federalist or the National Review or any other conservative publication did what Mother Jones did, it would be a fact check, and it would be an article condemning, how dare these conservative journalists share a compilation of gossip and lies that are completely unverified and baseless claims. And so what if the FBI took in the information? That's even worse. We should hold the Bureau accountable for accepting information from Hunter and Joe's direct political rivals. That's what they would say. As Korn's story emphasized, Steele and his sources saw clear links between Trump and Russia. Who cares? Steele and his sources are completely worthless in terms of knowledge about espionage. Who cares? You could just say anyone and their sources. Anonymous sources and a person paid by your direct political rival should already be ignored by the United States intelligence community, but they weren't. That's the problem. They weren't. That's the problem, ladies and gentlemen. They weren't. So, research from Fusion GPS, co-founded by Glenn Simpson and Peter Fritsch, commissioned the project with funds from the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democratic National Committee. After submitting, then there you go. I mean, it's like, according to the dossier, there was a two-way street of intelligence sharing, key roles for Trump campaign advisor Carter Page and lawyer Michael Cohen. Then they indicted Michael Cohen on nothing to do with this. So that should Russian compromise against Trump. That's not the way Trump works. The notion of compromise, like the notion that you would pay somebody not to disclose embarrassing information, is something that is contrary to who Trump is. If there was embarrassing information against Trump, do you think that Donald J. Trump would pay anyone not to publish it? The notion is absurd. Unless it was just for his family, but other than that, he doesn't care what people think. That's why the whole $100,000 thing with Stormy, that was a business transaction. Part of the business transaction was a confidentiality agreement. Sorry, that's the way he works. That's the way most business people work. They sign confidentiality agreements. That's the way Mother Jones and the Washington Post, when you work for any corporation, especially one where, intellectual property or, a person's ideas are part of the revenue stream, you're going to sign a confidentiality agreement. That's these people know what confidentiality agreements are. But anyway, after submitting his first report in June 2016, so research from Fusion GPS, co-founded by Glenn Simpson and Peter Fritsch, commissioned the project with funds from the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democratic National Committee. And that's it. Just like their idea of full disclosure, is simply, or their idea of fair play is simply acknowledging that the Clinton campaign purchased the dossier. The way they work, it's kind of interesting. It's like they acknowledge the Clinton campaign purchasing a dossier. They acknowledge the double they acknowledge the conflicts of interest. They acknowledge the conflicts of interest. And then they acknowledge the conflicts of interest in a one-word acknowledgement. That's it. And they say, yeah, it was purchased by the DNC and Clinton. No, nothing further. Nothing like, and this is why it should never have been taken seriously. Then they're complete hypocrites when they say, just because his direct political rival purchased the dossier doesn't mean it's true. And then they impeach Trump for an ellipsis, like the notion that he withheld arms deals because he wanted Ukraine to investigate Hunter, or he wanted Joe Biden, which, by the way, there was corruption involved. So much so that Biden himself bragged and boasted about forcing out a prosecutor. Then they said, well, he did so because the prosecutor wasn't doing his job. That's not the role of the vice president of our country, to tell any other country what to do with their top prosecutors. Who gave Biden the authority to utilize government money, $1 billion in aid? He's literally the one who utilized government money. And then they said Trump utilized. So everything they're guilty of, they accuse Trump of. They literally accuse Trump of everything they're guilty of, and they get away with it. So it's pretty unbelievable. Then you have the timing of Trump's Corn story was no coincidence. In Crime in Progress, the authors expect... Okay, there was no crime. The only crime was leveled against Trump. There was no crime. They got people on process crimes. After submitting his first report in June 2016, Steele told Simpson that he wanted to take it to the FBI. Steele thought the intelligence community needed urgently to know, if it didn't already, that the next possible U.S. president was potentially under the sway of Russia. Don't you think that maybe the hundreds of billions of dollars we spend in intelligence every year, maybe, just maybe, we have somebody in the U.S. intelligence community smart enough to find direct evidence that an incoming candidate was under the sway of Russia? Do you think maybe that was possible? Again, they were so outraged that Trump won. They were so mortified that they just ended up believing anything. The timing of Corn's story was no coincidence. In crime, the authors expressed contempt for the decision by then FBI director to publicly announce another look at the Clinton email investigation while remaining silent about what the Bureau had been doing on the Trump campaign. Here's a newsflash. They remained silent because they were setting up Trump and they were protecting Clinton. That's how it worked. They were setting up and frame. This is hilarious. The notion that they were so apolitical on both, even the names of the investigations. One was Crossfire Hurricane, which was Trump. And then Clinton's investigation was Mid-Year Exam. Gee, which one do you think evoked more emotion? Crossfire Hurricane or Mid-Year Exam? They should have named Clinton's investigation, Placid Lake, Calm Breeze. I don't know, like... It's kind of hilarious. Like you see everything. You see the way they treat Trump and then the way they treat Clinton. It's kind of hilarious. That's so-called... Okay, so Trump, Russia. They prompted the fusion partners to decide they needed to do what they could to expose the Bureau's probe of Trump and Russia. It was Hail Mary time, wrote Simpson and Fritsch. It's like, no, they were trying to set up and frame Trump. See, Clinton had top secret intelligence on servers. Okay? Fine. Honestly, there had to have been some kind of... No doubt it was a terrible for national security. The entire planet has all of her emails, almost certainly, okay? But even Comey said, well, it possibly could have happened. It's like, it was unencrypted for 3 months her servers. She had top secret special access program intelligence. She probably got, approval, tacit approval from President Obama. Because that's where it would have gone. She would have stated, hey, President Obama allowed me to do all of this. But here, the issue, Derek, thank you. The issue is that you have an actual crime with top secret intelligence on servers, And you have the allegations of this absurd fantasy that Trump was under Putin's control. None of it was true. That's why you have Durham indicting Sussmann and Kleinsmith. Kleinsmith deceived FISA judges. That's why he was indicted. Sussmann deceived the FBI, allegedly. Because he didn't tell, allegedly, the Bureau that he was working for Clinton. So, the Roz Rodriguez! Thank you so very much. As always, the Roz Rodriguez, so kind of you. So kind of you. Thank you. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you so very much. Thank you for yesterday and today. Thank you so very much, the Roz Rodriguez. So kind of you. Thanks so much. I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen, so thank you so very much. The Roz Rodriguez, please read my article as well in the Federalist. Everyone here, I'm very proud of this. Very happy. I didn't know until today. It was published, I believe, Thursday evening or Friday morning, and it's right here, the Roz Rodriguez. It's right here. I hope everyone enjoys this article in the Federalist. So please go ahead and read that. And thank you, the Roz Rodriguez, so very much. Thank you so much, the Roz Rodriguez. Thank you. Thank you very, very, very much. You look at the way, so this isn't, like, it is so easy to see the overt propaganda spin. Like, they're not even pretending. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you again. They're not even pretending to be unbiased. I mean, it is an opinion article, I understand that, but they would never in a million years write the same opinion article if it was somebody from the Federalist or the Daily Wire or the National Review or the Daily Caller. They would never in a million years just allow a story to be published that was without direct evidence, without categorical proof, direct, unequivocal, absolute direct evidence that pointed to Hunter or Joe or anyone in the Democratic Party committing a crime. That's not the way they work. The way they work is level as much nonsense against Trump, and then cry foul and just complain forever that people weren't fair to you. Jordan, thank you so very much, Jordan, thank you so very, very much. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you again. Jordan, as always, Jordan Weinberg, as always, thank you. I can't thank you enough, Jordan. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you very, very much. Korn came through with the story and did not stop there. After publishing his piece, he delivered a copy of the dossier to his friend, to a friend of his, FBI General Counsel James Baker. Wow, what great journalism. Going above and beyond, out just being completely apolitical. Definitely not having any political motive in giving this to your friend at the FBI. So that's pretty good journalism right there. It was a nice pickup for the FBI, really, because James Baker was under criminal investigation. He was forced to resign. The report of Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz confirms that Korn's packet contained information from Steele that the Bureau hadn't yet received. Oh, well, guess what? Information from Steele was completely bogus and fake news. So I guess they hadn't received that, so Corrin had to give that to him. Though Corrin told the Hill's Jonathan Solomon that he delivered the dossier after the presidential election, the Horowitz report indicates the FBI's Crossfire Hurricane team had secured it by November 6, 2016, 2 days before the election. Corrin told the Daily Caller's Chuck Ross that he'd misspoken to the Hill about the delivery date, or he just didn't want anyone to know initially that he had given this information before the election. So the people who try to interfere in the election, it wasn't Russia. These are liberal journalists and political partisans within the Bureau. They went after Trump, and they did so with the help of an entire apparatus. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you. Jordan Weinberg, thank you. And it's always like this bizarre kind of logic, like, well, it's true that the dossier was purchased by Trump's direct political rivals, but as long as we make that clear, there's no problem. It's like, no, there is a problem. There's a big problem. You wouldn't allow that. These people would not allow. They would not allow the reverse to take place, or the opposite to take place. Or they would not allow the table to be turned, or the script to be flipped, or the roles to be reversed. They would not allow the roles to be reversed. That's the issue. They would not allow the roles to be reversed. That's where the hypocrisy comes in. Timing matters here. Considering that Fusion GPS, by its own admission, was looking to pressure the FBI on its Trump-Russia work. Why? It was looking to pressure the Bureau because it was looking to pressure the Bureau because it was paid by the DNC. That's why. This is not rocket science. And Durham knows this. Then you have the fantasy, the romance novel To Steal. This was an emergency that needed to be dealt with swiftly, writes Simpson and Fretch. Oh, please. He was being paid by the Democratic Party. What do you expect? You think he cared about U.S. national security? If he was paid by the Trump campaign, Steele would then go after Hunter. These people are hilarious. They hire mercenaries, and then they say, oh my God, the mercenaries really cared about, the mercenaries really cared about our national security, our interests, our welfare. It's like, no, they don't. No, they don't. The idea, Simpson testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee, was to, quote, give it to Senator McCain so that Senator McCain can ask questions about it at the FBI with the leadership of the FBI. So that was essential. So the testify that was to give it. The idea was to give it to Senator McCain. Simpson testified, when you have a leading Republican, and it's not just the Mother Jones and Democratic Party, it's not just Clinton. When you have leading Republicans investigating Trump, they are doing so because they don't want him to have a normal presidency. The Roz Rodriguez, thank you so very, very much. I keep saying, without people like John McCain or Paul Ryan or Richard Burr or Mitt Romney, you couldn't. The country descended into madness because of people like Bernie Sanders and John McCain. Bernie Sanders and John McCain, you would think, are very different from one another. Abraham Justice, hello. Thank you for joining the chat and the live stream. Greatly appreciated. Nice. Abraham Justice, thank you. What they do is the following. They allow, when I used to be the biggest Bernie Sanders booster on the internet, according to the Huffington Post. I was the unofficial scribe of Sanders' most hardcore voters, according to the Washington Post. I know when I was on the left, I didn't care about the consumer price index or inflation or the national debt. I didn't care at all. I didn't care also about, I also was naive enough to think that the Democratic primary was fair and neutral. I thought that ideas won. I thought that candidates could win based on their ideas. And in Trump's case, he won based on his ideas, but he also let the Republican Party know that he would crush them. This is the difference between Bernie Sanders and Trump. Bernie Sanders and the Roz Rodriguez and Jordan, thank you so very much. Everybody here, thank you. Bernie Sanders was cheated, and he did nothing about it. And when you point that out, you get this blank stare, almost like the eyes of a great white. Point that out. If you ever point that out to a progressive or a socialist or a communist or a left-leaning person, I suggest you don't. If you ever point out that Bernie Sanders was cheated, have you ever looked into the eyes of a shark? Remember the scene in Jaws? Eyes of a shark. Lifeless. It's like looking into the eyes of a great white shark. Lifeless eyes. Lifeless, emotionless eyes. You tell them Bernie Sanders was cheated, and the words go into a vacuum. They actually go into some kind of wormhole or alternative universe, or they don't acknowledge or accept that you stated that. It's like you never actually said that. It's like you never told them that Bernie Sanders was cheated. They can't accept it or acknowledge it. Do you understand? That's my point. But Trump fought back and said because the Republicans they wanted to cheat him also, but the Republicans don't have as finely tuned of a political machine anymore as Democrats do. Okay? And the Republicans have a populist movement that took over the party. The Democrats absolutely obliterated populists on the left. And the populists on the left actually funnel votes now back into the Democratic Party. Populists on the left who don't vote Democrat are marginalized and insulted, demeaned. They go, they go after to silence and suppress these people. But you have a situation where John McCain, the idea Simpson testified before the Senate Judiciary Committee was to give it to Senator McCain so that Senator McCain can ask questions about it at the FBI with leadership of the FBI. That was essential. All we sort of wanted for the government to do its job, and we were concerned about whether the information that we provided previously had ever, risen to the leadership level of the FBI. You didn't even have, said Simpson Simpson knew that why would the Bureau do its job with allegations that were unverified? Even Glenn Simpson knew the allegations were unverified. So they were obviously setting up and framing Trump. This whole thing is an obvious overt setup. There's not a person. The people who perpetuate this know that they're setting up Trump. They're just trying to hide behind plausible deniability. Mika MF, oh my God. Mika MF, my goodness. What kind of shark was it? Oh my God. They hide behind plausible deniability. That's what, like, oh, well, we were just trying to tell the Bureau that we wanted to find out if they were doing their job. It's not the job of any government agency to accept dirt on opposing political candidates. That's not the job of any. You wouldn't allow that with Hunter or Joe, but you sure have no problem with Trump. We couldn't even talk about. We couldn't even talk. We could not even talk about Hunter's emails because it was apparently blasphemy and it was apparently blasphemy, and we just couldn't. We couldn't talk about Hunter's emails. Why? Because it could be Russian disinformation. I mean, they have this. They have this. First of all, Russia does not fear the Democratic Party. If anything, they have the goods after 4 years of unencrypted servers and Uranium 1 donations and, you have all of these links. Like the Democratic Party, their interests as a political party coincide with the interests of geopolitical rivals. So they keep saying, well, uranium is just a commodity. Now look at uranium prices. Let's look at uranium prices, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? It's a commodity. It's a commodity. Yeah, it's a commodity. Uranium prices. So, as with all commodities, they're surging. Okay? They've absolutely soared in price. Guess who owned at one point 20% of U.S. uranium capacity? Putin. So, do you think maybe the sale of uranium to Rosatom, you think maybe that was bad for the United States of America? But see, that's what they're so good at, Democrats. Everything that they are caught with, everything that they're every time they are caught with a scandal, every time that they're caught, oh my God, Mika MF, God bless you. Oh my God, how did you well, thank God you're okay. How did you get away? I mean, was it just like you were able to paddle away? Or Mika MF, thank you. Wow. Uranium 1 prices, what the rising prices means for the nuclear industry. So, this is an article in September 24, 2021. So, let's see. Hold on one second. Russian control of U.S. uranium supply is a huge national security problem. Spencer Abraham. So there you go. I mean, they sold out the country. It's unbelievable, Democrats. It's unbelievable. In 2019, the U.S. uranium mining industry forecasts production here at home will be less than is required for even one of the nation's 98 operating reactors, and they will not be supplying any uranium for defense purposes. So it's like, The Russian Duma has passed legislation empowering Mr. Putin to cut off nuclear fuel supply to the U.S. and its allies anytime he sees fit. Gee, you think maybe that wasn't a good decision? You think maybe it wasn't a good decision? It's unbelievable. The U.S. has become over-dependent on foreign uranium. Today, we have the world's largest commercial nuclear fleet, but our domestic mining industry supplies less than 2% of the uranium it needs. Thanks, President Obama. Thanks, Madam Secretary. Thanks, Uncle Joe. I mean, it's not. This is not even. This is just one of the many. This is just one of the many examples of Democrats selling out the country and Trump and never Trump Republicans. Don't think when I talk about the Democratic Party, I'm not also talking about Richard Burr and Paul Ryan and Mitt Romney and those people. It's the same person. They're the same people. Mitt Romney and Nancy Pelosi are the same person. Now, you could say they're different here and they're different. Yeah, but on major issues, they're the same person. On major issues, they're the same person. So, you know. In 2019, the U.S. uranium mining industry forecasts production here at home will be less than is required for even one of the nation's 98 operating reactors. Gee, you think maybe giving Rosatom 20% of U.S. uranium capacity could have been a problem? This is unbelievable. And now uranium is at an all-time high in price. And then you have Russian uranium one deal and Hillary Clinton in the news again. They always try to downplay everything. And this is good. Trump officials eye blocking uranium from Russia, China to help U.S. nuclear industry. What is wrong with that? What was wrong with that? Of course, you better believe that Democrats would never engage in that type of, they would never do that. So, all right, so let's see. It is so, it's sad, but it's amusing as well when you find out just how up the creek we are. Not amusing. That's not amusing, but the sensibilities of morally superior liberal and conservative elite, the sensibilities of morally superior liberal and conservative elite, these sensibilities have run this. We're heading towards a really bad crisis, financial crisis that's going to be far similar to 2008. Some people say worse. I'll just say similar. Could be worse. But I mean, it's like you have a situation where Shane B, hello. You have a situation where we're heading towards a financial crisis. And The country is completely oblivious our focus is not protecting the average American from another financial crisis. We are just pumping as much money as possible into the market, into the economy, and hoping and praying that it just rebounds somehow. When what we've done, the original sin was ending all economic growth. Faith, Keeling, Faith, thank you so very much. Thank you, Faith. Greatly appreciated, Faith. Thank you so very, very much. Greatly appreciated. Thank you. The Roz Rodriguez, Jordan, everybody here, thank you. Faith, thank you so much. I don't understand. I don't understand this. This is like unbelievable. So, let's just type in Biden really quickly. The Biden administration is focusing on every single possible they're focusing on everything other than economic growth. They want to tax, they want to focus on climate change, when the reality is that natural gas has doubled and it's 5 times as expensive in Europe. That doesn't mean you don't focus at all, but their life's obsession is now climate change. When the reality is 80 to 90% of the world's energy demands come from fossil fuels. And this is going to be an expensive winter for the United States and far more expensive for Europe. Everything is rising in cost. So how do the experts believe? Because experts are always wrong on everything, almost everything. When you say expert, they're intelligent or knowledgeable about a very specific, like, if you're an expert in a field, you're an expert only in that field and oftentimes a specific element of that field. But that doesn't mean you possess wisdom. That doesn't mean you can predict the future. That doesn't mean that you are aware of what will take place tomorrow. And you don't have to be an expert to perhaps illuminate or shed light onto a potential catastrophe. You can just use basic logic. Anyone using basic logic can tell you that there's going to be a devastating stock market crash. Anyone can tell you that. I mean, you have companies that are suffering now because of policies from Biden and Democrats. We won't get into them. Salty American, hello. We won't get into these policies, but it's like, Andrew Yang left the Democratic Party, which is interesting. They did not treat him well at all. This is what Democrats do when they don't like, when somebody has a base of support that they feel is detrimental to their interests as a political party. So Andrew Yang had a base of support. They want to just silence that person. And so they literally tried to silence Andrew Yang with by cutting his microphone. This is what they do with Biden also, but with Biden they're embarrassed. With Andrew Yang, they just didn't want his ideas to resonate within the Democratic Party. Universal basic income is not a good idea in my view, but he had other ideas that Democrats said, no, we can't have you speak. So they literally cut Andrew Yang's microphone. But see, they get away with that. They get away with that, okay? They don't want diversity of thought. JG, hello! JG, hello. Hope all is well. JG, I was just published in the Federalist. Everybody here, just published in the Federalist. Let me go ahead and give the link. Here's the link. It's on the title is Why Are Democrats Hurtling the United States Towards a Stock Market Crash? And it will be the Democratic Party's fault. And I explain in the Federalist right here. Thank you, Salty American. Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. The kind words. Thank you. You have a situation where the writing is on the wall and there's a great white shark coming towards us, and we have a very courageous person on the live chat who survived a shark attack. But this is like the beginning scene of Jaws. Then I feel like we're in the beginning scene of Jaws. I feel that it's just like dun 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 dun. And it's like people are completely oblivious, especially the Democratic Party. They're like, oh, yes, it's wonderful. We have so much. We have unlimited power. We have unlimited power. Yay. Because you know that this, until 2022, when Republicans take over the House, Democrats, unfortunately, will have virtually unlimited power. I mean, McConnell will go ahead and try to oppose here and there, like certain spending. But other than that, they're going to have virtually unlimited power now. All you need, the biggest problem, one of the biggest problems in our country, and I keep talking about this, is that we don't have an opposing viewpoint. Democrats know that they can't. Glorified G. Democrats know that they can't. Their ideas are not strong enough. They don't resonate with enough people without everyone from Jimmy Kimmel, Stephen Colbert, Trevor Noah, Seth Meyers, social algorithms, Facebook algorithms. They know, like you would think if you had every Washington Post, New York Times, if you had every single example of competitive advantage, or every single advantage, okay? If you had every single advantage possible in politics, and still over half the country rejects your ideas, there isn't even a formal resistance. Like Democrats had this resistance, it's the resistance. There's no formal resistance. Oh my God, this is so hilarious. Risky move. Biden undercuts White House executive privilege shield. Wow, that's so courageous. Really? Oh my God, that's so courageous. What is he doing? Democrat Biden has agreed to a request from Congress seeking sensitive information on the actions of Republican Donald Trump and his aides during January 6th. It's like the FBI found no link. He wasn't charged. He wasn't indicted or charged. So they have to just extract as much, every ounce of political utility possible. And then it's, Biden isn't going after his direct political rival. Once again, it's Associated Press. Biden undercuts White House executive privilege shield. My God, he's so courageous. He acquiesced and succumbed to the Democratic demands. He's so courageous. Wow. This person is so courageous. This person is so courageous. Oh my God. Wow. That is just really awesome. So, this is hilarious. This is absolutely hilarious. Look at just the example of propaganda here. If it was Trump, if Republicans wanted sensitive information on, I don't know, something that a previous Democrat did in office, you would get Trump caves to partisan demands for information on Democratic president. News at 5. Donald J. Trump, the Orange Menace, has caved, and he'll acquiesce to demands of hyper-partisan Republicans who want nothing more than to blame a Democrat for a horrible tragedy. So it's like, what, like, now it's like, why is Biden wants to give sensitive information? For what purpose? He wasn't indicted. The mayor of D.C., the attorney general of D.C., the Federal Bureau of Investigation, nobody has leveled any evidence, indictment. The Department of Justice hasn't indicted Trump. So, like, he's not getting charged with a crime. So then what are they doing other than milking and trying to squeeze and extract every single ounce, every possible ounce of political utility from this? My God. And they're not focused on anything else but, I agree with you, JG, I agree with you. They're not focused on anything else but their political they're not focused on anything else but their own political success. It's pretty unbelievable. They don't care about, like, it's so obvious what's taking place. You have an entire machine, a public relations machine, pointing in one direction at all times, leveling accusations towards one man, Trump. They've actually, like, it's actually very rarely now do you see Democrats going after, like, Republicans in general. I mean, yeah, you'll see that in Texas, but it's just all the animus, all the allegations are just against one person. One person. And it's nonstop. Like, they're still, late night is still obsessed. Late night is still obsessed with Trump. Scarlet, exactly. 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 Let's see here. Daily Beast, Seth Meyers embarrasses Trump for boring his own rally crowd. This is what they're obsessed over. He didn't, trust me, you go to any Trump rally, or I haven't been to one, but if you go, you're going to see people energized, enthusiastic. If Biden was to speak to a group of people, they'd all fall asleep. Or they'd need, like, you'd need subtitles, or you'd need, like, the United Nations translator just to find out what he's saying, because he slurs his speech and goes on these tangents. So, like, this is what you type in Trump, the Daily Beast, CNN, Bill Maher is right about Trump's slow-moving over. It's like, here are 6 reasons to take. It's not slow-moving. It's not. People want a different president. We had 73 million Americans with endlessly, like, negative media coverage that was virtually 100% negative media coverage. This is so hilarious. CNN. Oh, this is Brian Stelter, who this is an article from Brian Stelter. Bill Maher is right about Trump's slow-moving overthrow. Here are 6 reasons to take it seriously. So Brian Stelter, who shamelessly promotes propaganda pertaining to anything that benefits Democrats, but also this propaganda that shields Chris Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo. So, 1, many of Trump's fans are supporting it. Supporting what? A Trumpian overthrow. This is hilarious. How alarmed should we be? And then they quote a Lincoln Project-inspired publication. These people were against marriage equality and worked for a marriage amendment, but you better believe they're not going to be forced to step down or resign like John Gruden. These are people who actively opposed in government marriage equality. Okay. An interesting debate is developing over how seriously we should take the rolling Trumpian overthrow. The rolling Trumpian overthrow? You mean, oh, God forbid, half the country wants a record low unemployment again? God forbid. Oh my God. You mean, heaven forbid, people aren't happy with Biden? With the worst diplomatic debacle, one of the worst in American history, in Afghanistan? With 13 American lives lost, and 169 Afghans lost directly because Biden utilized the T-ban as security. This is unbelievable. An interesting debate is developing over how seriously we should take. Many of Trump's fans are supporting it. They want an overthrow. No, they don't, you imbeciles. Key lawmakers are giving cover to it. He refused to acknowledge the legitimacy of... So who cares? You refuse to acknowledge the legitimacy of Trump winning. Then he's talking about what immigrants think of this. Like, you can't speak for all. This is unbelievable. Viewers are able to hear Trump's doublespeak. Oh, my God. Oh, no. So, they spent 4 years. Media shouldn't normalize abnormal political behavior. They purchased a dossier with Trump going to the restroom, urinating in a hotel room. This was considered journalism. This was considered journalism. They normalized all of this. And now you're getting the Durham probe indicting people. They normalized all of this. Pretty unbelievable. Pretty unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, I will be back at 11 p.m. Pacific. So be here at 11 p.m. Pacific. And thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. Be back at 11 p.m. Pacific. To my super chat, the Roz Rodriguez, Jordan, everyone here. Thank you so very much. JG, hello. And thank you again. Luke, Eric, thank you so very, 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 very much. Everyone here, thanks so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening. If you're up,